Pity the salaryman. Tokyo's willing cog in an enormous machine requiring long hours, low pay, total dedication. And sometimes what's called karoshi, death by overwork. Here in a society of tight spaces and many expectations, the pressure's on. To keep up appearances, to do what's expected. To not let the interior life become exterior. But at night, things are different.
I took a walk through this beautiful world. Felt the cool rain on my shoulder. Found something good in this beautiful world. I felt the rain getting colder. Sha la 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 la, sha la 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 la. Sha la 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 la, sha la 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 la.
What do you need to know about Tokyo? Deep, deep waters. First time I came here, it was a transformative experience. It was powerful and violent experience. It was as if it was just like taking acid for the first time, meaning, what do I do now? I see the whole world in a different way. I often compare the experience of going to Japan for the first time, or going to Tokyo for the first time, to what Eric Clapton and Pete Townsend must have gone through, the reigning guitar gods of England, what they must have gone through the week that Jimi Hendrix came to town. You hear about it, you go see it, a window opens up into a whole new thing, and you think, what does this mean? What do I have left to say? What do I do now?
Welcome to Tokyo. You are not invited. This is the other Tokyo. 12-hour flight, and I'm baked. No sleep. Might as well, must, go out. The Kabuchiko district near my hotel has the advantage of being where the subterranean life, the repressed ids of the Japanese male, and some females too, comes out to play. Joining me is Japanese film producer and production manager Masa Kokubo. Always a good sign when protective chains separate entertainers from the soon-to-be entertained, right? Prepare yourself for the greatest show in the history of entertainment.
A long time ago, we lived a race that lived peacefully in all forests on a planet far away.
No, it can't be over. Not yet. No. But yet it is, with a series of chaste high fives with the hard-working performers.
Okay, I got to tell you, I've seen Jimi Hendrix.
Have you?
I've seen Janis Joplin. I've seen David Bowie, Diamond Dogs. I've seen Colleen Dewhurst and Jason Robards in Moon for the Misbegotten, directed by Jose Quintero on Broadway. Considered one of the greatest productions ever in the history. This was the greatest show I've ever seen in my life. It had it all. It was the greatest show in the history of entertainment. I don't understand it. I'm completely confused. There's like 100 people working on that show. Millions of dollars worth of like robots and technology. How do they make money?
Well, one thing for sure about this area is that like quite a lot of businesses unspoken but governed by the Yakuza.
The Yakuza. That's the fraternal organization prominent in the entertainment and financial services sector, as they say, who are said to, supervise things here in Shinjuku. Principally your arcades, your gambling, pachinko, adult entertainments, your porn shops and sex clubs, along with other ancillary services. But how much actual boning is going on in the sex district? Generally speaking, it's more a field of dreams than the actual act of sex. Hostess cafes, for instance, where a lonely, overworked salaryman can find the attention of cute, seemingly adoring girls who find their every utterance fascinating.
So now hostess bar is, I just want somebody to tell me I'm fantastic. Oh, you're so interesting. Your job is interesting. You are a very sexy man. I don't care what your wife says. I think you're really interesting.
Penetration, maybe by a Q-tip in the ear, followed by a personal love spell in this case to make your tea taste better.
Okay, what is this place? What's happening here?
Oh, this is the
Are these boys?
young boy host clubs for not for men, but for middle-aged ladies who are bored with the regular housewife's life.
Well, wait a minute, you got like a million guys wandering around here looking to get, and they got a whole bunch of bored middle-aged housewives coming in here.
Spending quite a lot of money.
Why don't they go to the same club and somebody will actually have sex?
People don't like getting rejected, so they sort of like pay for their pleasure. And then they make you feel welcome, and maybe you can feel like, I'm not that bad after talking to those girls or boys.
That's the saddest thing I've ever heard.
Well...
No, that's heartbreaking, dude. Is the business of Shinjuku dreams?
It is more for the dream of doing so, which is never going to happen.
Really? All of this? I mean, it is a very enticing situation. I mean, look at this. Wait a minute. She looks like she really likes me. Look, she's got her tongue tucked up in the corner of her mouth.
Who? Which one?
Oh, no.
That's a boy, though.
Oh. Well. Whatever.
Golden Guy. Long my favorite place to drink in Tokyo. Hundreds of micro-sized bars, each different from the other, with their own micro crowd. I love it here.
No, actually, I've never been here before. Maybe I have, I don't know.
This place is one of Masa's favorites, Bar Albatross. A few seats, strong drinks, the definition of a hole in the wall.
Now, do people come here right from work, drink all night, and then go back to work?
仕事終わってすぐ来られて。
やっぱ多いのはサラリーマン。
Oh, salaryman.
Salaryman? Would a salaryman bring his wife here?
それは奥さんっていうわけじゃなくてですよね。
さんのがなかなか。
So, look, in America, the bartender is like a priest.
So you come and talk to them?
I can tell him all of my problems, and I could behave very badly, and he will never talk, ever. That this is the contract.
Okay.
Absolute confidentiality. Do I have that kind of arrangement here now?
こっから出さないようにしてもらえますかって聞いてますけど。
あ、そういうことですね。それはもう秘密を守ります。
So I have his implied guarantee of total security.
Yep.
So if I came here with some dinosaur riding hoe in a bikini,
What then?
it would be. I'm not.
まあ
No, you don't have to ask. It's okay. Oh man, this is a great country. Every chef I know wants to die here
Is that about the food?
because the food is awesome, and because I think all of us understand that we don't understand anything about Japan, and I totally don't understand the porn here.
What way?
Why is it okay? You can't somebody with a penis, but you can with an octopus tentacle.
In Japan, there is a very old, very deep, and very rich tradition of martial arts. Many styles, many schools. The Yonakura Gym in Toshima Ward focuses on boxing, and this man, Kenji Yonakura, is a legend, having trained generations of fighters using a simple and effective philosophy that has some real application to our story. There it is, pasted on the wall behind the ring. 1. Speed. 2. Timing. 3. Distance. The same idea applies to the convention-shunning sushi techniques of New York City legend Naomichi Yasuda. Until recently, the chef partner of one of the very best, if not the best, sushi restaurant in New York, the eponymous Sushi Yasuda. A short while ago, under very mysterious and completely misreported circumstances, he left the Manhattan restaurant, which still bears his name, and at age 52, moved to Tokyo to start all over again. I was determined to track him down and see what the hell he was doing. These days, this great man is running a 14-seat sushi bar in the Minato district of Tokyo. His wife, Naomi, is his only helper.
Welcome to new place. Thank you for coming.
Why did you do such a hard thing?
This city, Tokyo, this is kind of the mecca of the sushi. So I just want to be the sushi chef in Tokyo.
Yasuda is a friend, and my master in the sense that he's taught me pretty much everything I know about sushi over the years. He's a very, very interesting and complex man who constantly surprises.
Tony-san, this wasabi is one of the most expensive wasabi. So I wait. Finally, this one goes to the discount box. Then I bought this.
It's very French of you.
So many things separate Yasuda-san from other Japanese sushi masters. The most noticeable is his hands. They're huge. Look at the knuckles, enormous, from years of pounding cement walls during repeated daily practice in Kyokushin karate. He first trained and competed in Tokyo. And when he came to New York, he continued to practice. Often in underground bare-knuckle matches where you fight until someone gets beaten to the ground. This style Yasuda practiced was about beating your opponent as quickly and as aggressively as possible. Speed, every second is important. Rice is getting cold, seaweed is getting soggy, fish less than perfect temperature. Look at his posture, a fighter's stance. Distance, knowing the perfect spot to be. Moving in and out as needed, never out of position. Timing, reacting to his customer's pace of eating, their ever-changing desires, always ready for the next move.
Most people who don't understand sushi will go to a sushi bar and say, "Oh, I had the best sushi last night. The fish was so fresh. It was right out of the ocean."
Freshest fish, there's no taste. Just chewing, just hard. And people think, oh, freshest should be good, but it wasn't.
Yasuda's menu changes constantly with what he finds in the market. And like thousands of other sushi chefs, he heads every day to Tsukiji, Tokyo's central fish market, where nearly 3,000 tons of the world's best seafood arrives every day. But unlike most others at his level who arrive at 4 a.m. to cream off what they perceive as the best and freshest, Yasuda-san arrives later. He does not buy the ridiculously expensive otoro, the fatty belly meat of the bluefin tuna that people have been known to pay hundreds of dollars a pound for. Instead, he buys tuna from the heads, using his knife skills to go for qualities that most others miss, removing every bit of sinew from what would otherwise be a difficult piece of meat, until it's, well, perfect. And he cures the results, actually cures it, breaking down its molecular structure in a desirable way by freezing it quickly in a medical-grade blast freezer, where it will stay for a week or longer at minus 82 degrees Celsius. He pioneered this technique years ago in New York, where if you bothered to ask, he would have proudly told you that the absolutely unbelievably sublime piece of perfect sushi you were eating was frozen.
Delicious.
Thank you very much.
Which is more important, the rice or the fish? Or what
Rice.
percentage? Rice, more important.
About 90%.
Wow, that's...
Fish is the second ingredient. The main ingredient is rice. So my sushi is rice.
Yasuda, he still trains, though his fighting days are over. He says he was tired of hurting people. He brings me to Kamiyo Dojo in Asakusa to try and show me how his sushi technique and Kyokushin karate are one and the same. Nobuyuki Kamiyo, the master.
Nice. Many of the people ask me, what's the point between the karate and the sushi? But this movement is so much good for the when I make the sushi because of the stance. The other different type of the karate, the stance is a little bit more upper. So this karate is a stance is a little bit more deep. This. So standing in front of the cutting board, little bit of the deep stance and movement, deep stance, and the body move this and watch to the vision from left to the right, white focus. Move this, move this. Then watch this and watch this. This is one of the key. So this karate is my sushi roots.
Now, in an official tournament, 2-minute round,
2-minute round.
and the result you're looking for is points.
Point or knockdown. But 2 minutes fight or 1 minute fight, that's most hardest.
If it's underground, you can just work on their legs for 5-7 minutes to slow them down, then you go in.
Yes, and no compromise, just do it. Whatever may happen, no excuse. See the result, good or not. If it's bad, try again. Don't give up.
Right.
This is my sushi.
Perfect.
Those who buy into the notion of Japanese women as shy, giggling, subservient victims of convention would be confused by Tomika. People, as everywhere, if you look deeper, can surprise you. Her day job is doing this, and I gather from what she tells me that she gets plenty of work. Taito Ward of Tokyo, another complicated warren of businesses layer upon layer, where excellent izakayas are well represented. Places where a hard-working salaryman can have a beer or some sake, or many beers and many sakes. And salty, savory, pickly, delicious snacks that go brilliantly with alcohol.
Please. Yes.
Tomika brings me to one of them, Daitoro, to meet some friends.
Kenpai.
Kanpai.
There's kusaya, grilled fermented fish, followed by some skewers of beef intestine and chicken. This place is known for its motsunabe, intestine stew with miso, so we order some of that as well. This is Naga, invited along to help translate. Naga runs a custom service company, but he also teaches pole dancing for men. Then there's this man, Kinoko Hajime, one of the best-known and most respected practitioners, a master of shibari, the art of ropes, of beautiful knots, of what, for lack of a better word, we call bondage.
So how big is the sadomasochistic community? How many people are active participants?
10万人ぐらいもっといるかもう勝手な俺の予想です今すごい計算して
100,000 people. A lot.
This is shibari. Translation, to bind. And to make things more confusing for those looking for a concise takeaway, a comfortable reaction to what sure as hell looks pretty disturbing, Tomika, who spends most of her time whipping, burning, and generally abusing men, enthusiastically reverses roles in her longtime relationship with Hajime.
It looks like a very delicate procedure. Does it hurt? Or does it feel good?
Yeah, 気持ちいいよね。
もちろん。
Of course. But this pain changed to the ecstasy.
何も考えない時間っていうのが一瞬でもある感じがする。
What she said, when she was tied up, no need to think. Just leave it to. She loved that.
Performance art, craft, fetish, or compulsion. It's an old and shockingly omnipresent feature of Japanese popular fantasy culture. Magazines, movies, even comic books, the intricate restraint of a willing victim is, well, it's there, not far from the surface.
What percentage of Japanese men are interested in either tying up women or subjugating women?
そういう女性をこう縛ったり。
多分全員やってると思うんですよ家では
All of them.
All of them. Well, then the question is, how many Japanese men like to be tied up?
あこっちの彼女
全員ですね。
Yeah, all of them.
So in your experience, all Japanese men like to tie women up, but in your experience, all Japanese men like to be tied up. Who's more up sexually? Americans or Japanese?
態度が変わったりするかって、例えば店のオーナーとして。
はい。そうですね。全部一緒です。
Same.
よかったらやってみるといいんじゃない？
So maybe she suggests you to be tightened up.
A little late for me.
In America, where I come from, we are told at a certain age to put aside childish things, the action figures, dolls, and creatures of our imaginations, to arm ourselves for the brutal realities of the real world, real combat, real sex. In Japan, increasing numbers of people don't. They continue to live a life inside four walls, inside their mind, the life we call of the computer geek, the nerd, as avatars. There's a name for it, a whole subculture of what's called otaku. Once a derisive term, now a proud identifier of the geek, one who has turned his back on the real world and finds satisfaction elsewhere. Manga or comic books hold a different place in the cultural landscape here and address different needs. There's yaoi, for example, otherwise known as boys love manga, extremely popular with teenage girls. Stories change, but the core themes are sexually ambiguous boys getting very friendly with each other. What legions of young girls and soccer moms find compelling in the thousands of these titles is something of a mystery to outsiders looking in. But there they are, whole sections of manga bookshops dedicated to basically One Direction type boy band figures having sex with each other. Yaoi isn't generally explicit, though it can be. Some of the most popular manga are, however, lurid, over-the-top illustrated stories of incredible violence, rape, murder, and sexual fetishism. Toshio Maeda is a manga creator like few others, the father of what can only be described as tentacle porn. His 1986 manga Urotsuki Doji was about half-human, half-bestial space invaders in search of an evil supreme being. It contained unbelievably graphic, lurid, violent, and one would argue offensive images of sex acts involving not sexual organs, but other protuberances. It became a huge hit and has been imitated widely, both in other manga and in live-action films. A whole genre of lurid but extraordinarily well-drawn madness. At Meino Umi restaurant, Toshio tries to explain.
You know, this girl seems like a high school girl. So, basically, it's forbidden. It's our sense.
Notice, by the way, the distinguished owner and her complete lack of shock or offense at the graphic, frankly horrifying images of rape, violation, and murder spread casually across the table for all to see. Japanese manga, ones that everyone reads on the subway home even, well, they're different.
The big breakthrough was you couldn't draw penises, you couldn't draw specifically orifices, you couldn't actually show humans penetrating each other.
In Japan,
right,
it was a big no-no at that time. So I invented tentacles to be evasive about the law.
Also demons.
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 Yes.
It's fantastic. Whether you meant to at the time, you absolutely changed the world of manga. You created an entire spectrum of pornography that didn't exist before. I mean, if you go to YouTube now, there's tentacle manga, tentacle and demon manga. There is tentacle and demon anime. A lot. Oh, that looks good.
For dinner, there's katsuo no tataki, fresh bonito seared quickly over flame, arranged in bite-sized pieces, garnished with daikon, fresh greens, sprouts, and ponzu. Toshio comes here often for the tomato nabe, commonly a favorite of sumo wrestlers as part of a weight gain diet. Basically, it's a hot pot of meat and vegetables. Chicken, pork, beef, fish balls keep getting fed into the pot. usually alongside much beer and rice, adding that much-needed bulk-up factor so important to sumo wrestlers and cable TV hosts.
So appealing to the hidden desires of a manga buying audience. Men want filthier, dirtier, more violent.
In Japan, you can't be rude in public,
Right.
but you need to just, I can say that, letting off steam.
Right.
So probably the manga is the one way to do that.
What do women want? Generally speaking, what do women want in manga?
Yaoi.
Yeah.
Yeah, boys love. Because probably don't have enough experience to do that with real men.
But nobody's going to the fish market and asking for live octopus. Probably not.
Probably not.
The pop music scene in Tokyo is not that different than ours, with an accent, though, on pretty boy bands, pop idols, tween stars. Generic, industry-created crap for the most part. Like I said, not so different than us. Picture an army of Miley Cyruses, or would that be Miley Cyri? Going against the grain are a few lone heroes like Merging Moon. 2 self-released albums and no hint of a record deal. Damn Suits, what do they know? Lead singer, you. Sweet, shy, pop-friendly, Lilith Fair, no.
Yeah, so how big an audience in Japan for thrash metal, death metal, hardcore?
We had Ozzy Osbourne's Ozfest this year as the first time in Japan. And I feel like people are
They're
watching
ready.
the heavy metal scene as a new movement.
And audiences, good audiences here?
They are kind of polite.
Polite. Really?
They are really quiet and just watching us. And when we finish playing, they suddenly grab.
Polite. Really? You know, when I look at popular music, the stuff that's selling millions of records in America, it makes me angry, actually.
Do you mean that you sometimes get angry with some people?
Yeah, if I see Nickelback, I want to kill myself. Okay, I want to kill them, and then I want to kill myself. And then I want to kill everybody who listens to them. Yeah. Okay. So like that, what's so funny? That's true. Like, I mean, who do you hate? What band do you hate? What a band that I would know. Who's the worst band in the world? The worst popular band in the world? Who?
My Chemical Romance.
Oh, My Chemical Romance, yes. Hate them. That's a good one. Can you make a living?
No.
No.
Not at all.
Not at all.
We all have part-time jobs.
You all have jobs. What do your families think when they see you doing this kind of music?
But we are at 22 to 25 years old. So it's the hunting job season in our lives.
So there's pressure
Yeah.
on you.
Yeah. And we all went to university and a lot of money.
The expectation, the pressure is, okay, get a real job.
Yeah.
Put aside this rock and roll shit and get a real job. In a perfect world, would you like to play rock and roll every night? Would you like to play metal every night?
Yeah, I could be a cleaner in the toilet if I can keep doing this.
And you? Yeah, these guys look like lifers.
Tokyo may well be the most amazing food city in the world, with a nearly unimaginable variety of places stacked one on top of the other, tucked away on every level of densely packed city streets. At Lawson's, you can dig into their unnaturally fluffy, insanely delicious, incongruously addictive egg salad sandwiches. I love them.
Oh yeah!
Layer after layer after layer of awesome. Crowded eateries serving who knows what. But it all smells delicious and looks enticing. In the tiny, almost micro neighborhood of Nakamaguro, Tokyo, all is quiet. And amazingly, for right here in the middle of this eye-goggling pinball machine of a city, green. Yasuda lives near here, and he loves this place. A low-key joint to enjoy family meals and meet friends.
I'm so much appreciate and seeing you and all of the people from the U.S.
Well, we miss you, you know?
I miss New York City.
I'll tell you something really terrible. Every relationship I've ever had with a woman, at some point, very early on, I bring them to Yasuda in New York. And I would watch how they eat. If they talk too much, if they didn't understand how to eat sushi, if they did not eat the uni, we will never have a relationship. That's it. It's the end.
They don't serve high-end sushi here, or elaborate kaiseki-inspired fare. It's almost like hipster tempura. This style of food is known as kushiage, skewers of delicious things dipped in batter and fried perfectly. Yasuda-san orders up shrimp and basil, lotus root, octopus, and pickled quail eggs. We also have to have their take on okonomiyaki, a type of egg batter pancake that can be filled with many things. For us, it's squid and brushed with Worcestershire sauce.
Wow, that's awesome.
I've been coming here for many times, but this is the first time to eat.
Okonomiyaki, yeah. Love this dish. You lived in New York, what, 14 years, 18 years?
27 years. So since 1984 to 2011.
27 years in New York. That changes a person.
Yes, very much.
You're a New Yorker now.
Yes.
What was the hardest thing to get used to when you first came here?
Culture.
The culture.
Yes, culture is so much different between the U.S. and here. And Manhattan is so interesting, always. I never ever get boring. That city...
Look, I never get bored, and I always learn new things in Manhattan. But there's 15, 20 different Manhattans in Tokyo, to me. I mean, if you... Shinjuku, Shibuya, Roppongi, from my perspective, these are completely different cities, even building to building. Pachinko down here, nightclub for men, nightclub for girls, nightclub for rock and rollers, hair salon, but all up. 50 different businesses in one building.
Yes.
One building. I could spend the next 5 years just doing shows on this one building.
What is weird? What is strange? What do those things even mean anyway? Sure, a lot of what you've seen looks different from maybe the mainstream. It's certainly different from the way we like to portray ourselves, see ourselves, at least our daytime selves. But roughly 50% of all movies rented in American hotel rooms are adult films. The American porn industry catering to exactly the kinds of dark urges we've been talking about, but even nastier, is a $12 billion a year industry that dwarfs the Hollywood product. Our own obsessions, arguably, are at least as crazy, violent, and lurid as Japan's. And we tend to actually carry out our violent fantasies more frequently. Maybe with that fetishism, that attention to detail, comes some kind of excellence in other fields. Maybe there's a line from there to here. So, who's crazy now? ugly white man. They don't look friendly. Who are those assholes anyway? It's like some ugly Dutch guys with guns. I'm guessing it wasn't particularly friendly to the current power. They look like they were either coming from or on their way to oppressing a black man. First order business, man. When I take my country back, first order business is take that shit down. Am I right or what? I'm kind of amazed. Tear that down.
I took a walk through this beautiful world. Felt the cool rain on my shoulder. Found something good in this beautiful world. I felt the rain getting colder. Sha la 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 la, sha la 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 la, sha la 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 la, sha la 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 la.
In July 2013, when I went to South Africa, 95-year-old Nelson Mandela was critically ill. And the country he freed from white minority rule was already in mourning, and already fearful of what the future might be without him.
It's really, really sad because the world still needs him. He's the guy who fought for our freedom.
I pray that somebody takes the baton from him.
I wish him a speedy recovery and come back to his people.
So a good friend of mine, a really great travel writer, said something that the more I travel, the less I know. I feel that particularly strongly here in South Africa, a place I came in a state of near total ignorance, loaded with preconceptions. For the first part of my life, the South Africa I knew was not a happy place or a good place. It was a pariah state, surrealistically, outrageously divided into black and white. A throwback to attitudes we thought we'd long learned to reject. The nationalist government in South Africa enacted apartheid laws in 1948. Who you could marry, where you lived, where you could walk, be educated, everything decided by racist laws backed by police, army, and secret services. The institutionalized racial discrimination was designed to maintain white minority power and economically suppress the black and mixed race South Africans who lived in townships, mostly in poverty. In 1923, the African National Congress was formed. By 1961, it had been radicalized by the influence of a young Nelson Mandela, among others, and formed an armed wing called the Spear of the Nation.
Do you see Africans being able to develop in this country without the European being pushed out?
We have made it very clear in our policy that South Africa is a country of many races. There is room for all the various races in this country.
In 1963, Mandela was charged with sabotage and conspiracy and sentenced to life imprisonment on Robben Island. It would take another 27 years of violence and injustice before the inevitable would happen.
You believe in apartheid. I believe that it is according to God's will that the white race should be preserved.
With South Africa's white minority under international sanctions, internal political pressure, and the decline of the communist threat, Mandela was released from prison in 1990. In 1994, he was elected president of a new, free South Africa. There have been very few figures in the entire history of the world as revered or as important as Nelson Mandela. But the question is, what happens next? Johannesburg, or Joburg, or Jozi, the largest city by population in South Africa and the economic powerhouse of the country. Southwest of Johannesburg, Soweto, originally an acronym for Southwestern Townships. Now, the area is considered a suburb. In 2010, South Africa played host to the World Cup. The Blackjacks, who played for the opening celebration, are a Soweto-based band. They are also, not surprisingly, soccer fans. We're here on game day, a grudge match in a country where soccer approaches religion. You can feel it in Soweto, or rather, you can see it, as everywhere you look, people show their love for either the local Orlando Pirates or for the Johannesburg Kaiser Chiefs. Ma Willie's Inn, a typical local joint in Soweto. The perfect place to watch a game, talk about a game, drink yourself silly over the results of a game, or just have a very fine local-style meal. It is, however, a little hard to find. There are a lot of places like this. I mean, this used to be like the garage or the carport, right?
Yeah, definitely.
In what was once a garage are now 6 tables, a lawn-turned lounge out back. Closed on Sundays if grandma's visiting. These kinds of bars were born during apartheid times, when black South Africans not allowed to own businesses in white areas adapted and improvised. They did their own thing, created these little micro, under the official radar restaurants known around here as eat houses.
I mean, back in the days, obviously, it was illegal. You know,
right.
Like during apartheid, that's where they'll have meetings to actually plan what they're gonna do.
Right, so this would be considered a hotbed of sedition and...
Yeah, exactly.
Now it's just a hotbed of drinking and...
Yeah, different kind of sedition.
Mpumi and Tsapeng from the Blackjacks have just finished watching the game when I joined them for some food. Generally speaking, are these good times to South Africa? Bad times? Transitional times?
Obviously, 1994 was the peak of the good time in South Africa. Then now with all the politics, you know, all the parties fighting, it's quite tense right now.
It's not like it was before where everybody's, you know, it's black and white, literally. Right. You know, like we're unified on this and they're unified on that.
These days, the party that freed the country from white rule, the ANC, is not universally loved anymore. In recent years, they've been criticized for inaction, corruption, and cronyism, and opposition parties are gaining strength.
So now it's more nuanced, and I think that's maybe new to us.
Right.
So I think we're trying to navigate this nuanced reality. Like, how do you deal with so many opinions and, you know, the party that you loved the whole time that brought about this freedom is fumbling the ball. So what do you do? Because in democracy, you should act.
As the smiley for snack.
Ah.
Smileys, fire-roasted sheep's head, lips shriveled back in a Joker-like rictus of deliciousness, chopped into tasty, tasty bits and eaten with cold beer? Yes, of course, yes. Just needs a little salt and pepper. Good stuff. That looks good.
Yeah, this is pap.
Now what is it?
It's like maize.
Pap, or meal pap, a sticky porridge made from ground cornmeal. It fills the role that grits do in the American South, rice in much of Asia. It's tasty, relatively nutritious, and cheap filler. And it sops up gravy when you have something like this stewed beef real good.
That's that traditional dumpling there.
That's a dumpling?
Yeah, it's not really like other dumplings.
Dumplings, important throughout the African diaspora. Made with flour and yeast, a spongy bread-type tool for mopping up sauce. Stewed greens, carrots, beans, and more gravy.
Wow, that's awesome. So tell me about your band. How long have you guys been together?
About 10 years now.
Whoa, long time.
Yeah.
Would you say you're an indie band?
Well,
is there an indie scene in what I guess I'm getting at? Is there a support? I was kind of getting there.
Is there South African Williamsburg?
in terms of South African street culture, people are really pushing the boundaries now. We didn't really have a scene when we started. You look around, it's like, man, like demographic is crazy.
What do you mean by that?
It's not just racial, the classes, you know? And people are being pushed and pulled. It's like an aspirational culture. Like,
what do you think that means?
the whole Rainbow Nation notion was quite romantic and ridiculous, you know? Like, racism is not on a piece of paper, so just because we voted it out doesn't mean people stop being racist, you know? So it was ridiculous in that sense, but we've lived something else for 20 years. People want it. It's no longer like a coffee table idea.
I love it.
Respect money make one love, man.
This is Sansa Sandil,
You're looking nice, Nana.
pioneer of sorts.
Respect dollars.
He's taken a traditional cookshop space in the Yeovil neighborhood of Johannesburg and done something different.
Hello, beautiful things. Where you been? How are you?
Yeovil is a neighborhood where just about everybody comes from somewhere else.
I came here around 20 years ago from Soweto. I grew up in Soweto. And then when we heard about the bells of change, we all ran to this central part of the city.
With the end of apartheid and the emergence of Mandela as not just an inspirational figure, but the beginning of real and compassionate Black African government, South Africa became a beacon and a refuge for millions of Africans from all over the continent.
Black South Africans fought hard for their freedom, for their country. As I understand, a lot of them are pretty pissed off about, hey, we're just getting together and, whoa, all these Congolese and Nigerians, well, you know, they're coming in.
Of course, there's got to be that
Right.
giving and taking, you know. And then people have been saying Mandela's gonna die, we're gonna kick all these people away.
Right.
You know, that's not what our people are all about. And then now that's when I took, you know, the tool of food, because that was the first way to engage.
Sansa has no formal culinary training. He's completely self-taught, picking up bits and pieces where he can, often from the women in the neighborhood.
So you're plucking the best of everybody's culinary culture.
Every day I learn. The smell, the colors they brought. What are you eating? Where are you from? You know, and being taught by some men, like, this is not how it's cooked at home, you know.
Right.
Go to that auntie. She's a back of some ginger club at the back there. There's a small kitchen. Look there, that's be nice. She'll teach you something, you know, and then that's me. When that, hey auntie, you know, I'm really keen in how you're making this particular sauce.
And they'll show you.
They'll show me stuff. And I pick up, and then I rush back to the shop and I try it out. So I got all the elements now.
At his cookshop, he mixes recipes, ingredients, techniques, and traditions as he sees fit. One reviewer described his style as gastronomic smuggling, moving people across borders with dishes that slyly partake of elsewhere. On today's menu,
I made this for you. This is egusi and beef, a traditional Nigerian dish. Okay. They usually use a cow leg.
beef stewed with melon and pumpkin seeds. There's futu, the ubiquitous cornmeal porridge, but made to a texture more crumbly than pap.
This is like basmati rice with rose water. This is achar, aubergines and mango, and then a pickle. And then this has got cassava in it. The Congolese
like a peas with
they
cassava.
have it with the cassava. These are the falafel.
Right. Good taste.
Is it?
Oh yeah. Awesome. You good food here. menu change every day?
That's our idea.
You're doing a lot of great food in a small space.
There are no seats. His customers remain part of the constantly unfolding street theater of Yeovil. They mingle, talk, observe.
Lots of people, lots of stories pass through here. Lots of cultural interaction. Because everybody's got something interesting to say as far as we're concerned.
Really, because food, I knew that food is a way to really engage. You gotta put something in your mouth to get your ears open, you know.
Across town, another pioneer of sorts, an urban settler in a very different neighborhood. This is Hillbrow, a notoriously dangerous district, and this is DJ Les.
When I came here, I always dreamt of being a musician, and I see myself singing in front of a huge crowd, you know, making money in the process. That's what I dreamt about.
He spins records and promotes acts and events in nightclubs. We meet in his favorite spot, Sympathy's Restaurant.
What's good? What do you like? Well, that looks good. Is that fried chicken?
There's a fried chicken.
The place is heavy with the smell of frying chicken, stewing greens. Walk right up, place your order, and be sure to get some meal pop. Heaped on a plate with beets and coleslaw, it's a nice, heavy base.
So tell me about the neighborhood.
When I first came, hey, it was rough, my friend.
492. It was like white business district, residential district.
Back then, okay, it used to be cool, it used to be clean, it used to be respected.
Once, Hillbrow was an elite whites-only center of town. But when things started to change, so did Hillbrow, becoming one of the first gray areas where whites and blacks mixed. Hillbrow became aspirational, a symbol of everything black Africans had long been denied, but was now accessible. People poured in large numbers, many of them squatters from all over the continent.
People come here with one intention: making a living, making money. Dark kids, black guys start coming in, the white guys run away.
White landlords and tenants simply walked away from their property. The disenfranchised who moved in legally, semi-legally, illegally, or just squatting, an influx of gangs and criminal organizations, the area soon slipped into anarchy.
There's a say around here, okay, that this building has been hijacked.
Entire buildings were seized to become superstores for illicit drug operations. Everything that could go wrong did.
People make a living from different things. Some they rob people to make a living. Some they sell their bodies. Sometimes things don't always go according to what you plan. Because this is where I live. This is where my life is. Yeah, we go down here. I'll show you.
We walk down the street and one of the many enterprises doing business on corners and in doorways around us becomes alarmed at the sight of our cameras. Soon there's a mob of very angry people coming our way. We do not turn around our cameras for obvious reasons. These days, things are slowly improving.
But before, you wouldn't walk like this, freely. Now we are free.
There's actual law enforcement going on in fits and starts, and that's making a difference. Black-owned legitimate businesses have gained a real foothold. There are new revitalization projects like farmers markets springing up.
Hello, Jozi!
Buildings are being reclaimed and people here hope that Hillbrow is past the bad old days.
There's no fear now. You have to relax. Nothing will happen to you.
Shakalitso, my name is Soweto. Uliang Pomakona Soweto. Uliang Pomakona Soweto. Uliang Pomakona Soweto. It's where I come from. Nipume feel like I street. Ya mangiting Shayikona. Ubabu Mandela. Mangiting Shayikona. With Desmond Tutu. Umamu Africa. Awini Mandela Soweto. Uliang Pomakona West. It's just a West. Uliang Pomakona West.
What's in a name? If the name is Soweto, you best believe it means plenty.
How are you?
This is Madhu. For over a decade, he's been in what has at times been the very difficult business of driving a taxi. You should probably know that the word taxi in Soweto means something a little different than, say, New York.
60% of the population is using taxi.
How many taxis in Johannesburg?
I would say more than 1 million.
This, coming from a potential passenger, means Soweto. Also, this and this. Johannesburg has an elaborate system of hand signals indicating desired routes of travel.
So you look at the hand signals and you said, okay, I'm not going there, I'm not going there.
I'm looking at the hand signal.
In 1904, Soweto came into being as a less benign version of a housing project. It was designed as workers' lodging, a place to put black laborers comfortably removed from white society. A ghetto. By the 1950s, it had become the center of resistance to white rule, synonymous with the struggle against the whole rotten, racist system.
I remember one day, the situation was so bad in such a way that my mother had to put me inside a bath where we put shoes and hide me there under the bed. This is where I grew up most of the time. And sometimes you would get bullied. There was this time 2 guys were following me. They lifted me up and I had probably some few coins in my pocket and just turned me around. Just to shake me. Shake me upside down. I would never forget that moment in my life. I felt stupid, you know. Get on, ma.
How are you?
Hello.
Now there is a definite cachet to living in Soweto. A very real pride in having been at the very center of things back when it was hard and dangerous to have an opinion. Nelson Mandela lived here, Desmond Tutu. When you're a certain age and you say you were born and bred in Soweto, it means something.
So do most of these people own their homes or do they rent?
Most of the people own their homes.
They start to make a little more money, things start to get good. Can you build up?
Yeah, you can build up.
Look at the streets here and you see what that kind of pride does. It may not be a rich area, but it's immaculate, squared away, an emerging middle class coming up rather than fleeing to elsewhere.
Hey, having a nice day, gentlemen.
These ladies over here, as you can see, they're marketing for their stores.
You know where you're going, right?
Yeah, I know where I'm going.
Next exit, smoky delicious meat over flame. Under the overpass, all sorts of mystery meats for sale. The taxi man's lunch. We order some brisket, some sausage, some heart.
Beautiful thing.
Meat, a cutting board, a knife.
Cut out the meat in pieces, that's how you eat it. Most of the time they serve it with tomato and raw chili. And it's more or less like a salad food. We have salt over here. It's nice.
You chose well, these guys are good.
Oh.
Here, spread over thousands of square feet, the remnants of white colonial rule. What's left from the descendants of Bible-thumping Dutch settlers who came here to farm, to ranch, to build their own world on top of an existing one. The Boers, as they were known, came in the 1600s, and if nothing else can be said about them, they were a tough bunch of bastards. In the 1800s, the British came. Diamonds were discovered, greedheads jockeyed for power. There was war, and an ugly one. In the end, there was an uneasy sharing of power. The Boers became known as Afrikaners, and entering the 20th century, racist Afrikaner ideology grew. Apartheid laws were enacted, and white domination became the rule for almost 100 years. But look, meat. You want to see an expat South African weep, wave some of this under their nose. Biltong.
It's like a Mussolini-themed restaurant?
Yeah, that's it. That's it. Neo-fascist butchery.
Oh, the good old days.
Doesn't really look like any butcher I've ever been into.
An hour north by northwest of Johannesburg is Pretoria, still the administrative center of South Africa, once the heart of apartheid. Here you can find Matters, a father-son butchery, restaurant, and theme museum. I just don't know how I feel about this place. It doesn't fit in with my white liberal guilt sensibility.
A room like this, with all of this kind of Afrikaner paraphernalia in it, it just wouldn't be accepted an hour away. Couldn't exist.
As any South African butcher would, they sell biltong. Sprinkle some salt, brown sugar, some malt vinegar, pack in layers, repeat. After 24 hours, remove and hang to air dry for a week. Voila, a tasty, jerky treat we can all get behind. Chef Andrea Bergner, South African by birth, English and German by background, can usually be found in the trenches of her Joburg restaurant, The Leopard. She's known for her playful menus, but loathes culinary fashion. She strives for a locally grounded cuisine. Today, however, she's my guide through this twilight zone. It's weird here. And though I'm told the place usually reflects the changing demographic of modern South Africa, today, not so much. The customers may or may not have feelings about the Afrikaner memorabilia, but really, they just come for the meat. You pick your meat at the butcher counter. We choose some T-bone, some rump steak, some boerewurst, spicy sausage made from beef and pork.
And then what we must get, because I assume it's separate, is monkey gland sauce. Do you know what monkey gland sauce is?
Monkey gland sauce.
Every steakhouse has monkey gland sauce. It's barbecue sauce.
They cook it up along with some pap and fries, and presto, a colon-clogging pile of meat in the ruins of empire.
Yeah, I mean, meat is a very big thing. This is the monkey gland, and there's enough of it, I think.
I mean, good Lord, I mean, I could swim in it. Tastes like oppression. After this show airs, I'm gonna get a huge amount of mail saying, why didn't you go to Cape Town? Great modern restaurants, cutting-edge chefs. Is it all right that I missed all of that?
I feel like those particular restaurants in Cape Town are not really representative of what most people in this country are eating. I think a lot of our most basic stuff is really what we do best. This food is absolutely got no interest in fashion. It's never going to change. It'll still be the monkey gland sauce and the boerewors and the steak and the pap.
Do you think the white chefs here understand that the greatest advantage they have is that this enormous Pan-African larder of ingredients and flavors?
No. If you're a whitey in this city, you're probably going to eat the worst food of anyone in this city, quite honestly. In every country, I mean, obviously food is political, but it always feels like it's a bit more political here. That there are these layers of things that you couldn't have, like restaurants. I mean, I go to restaurants and I think to myself, wow, this many years ago, I couldn't have come here with this person. They were not allowed to sit in here. And I remember very clearly, being about 8, the cafe owner would regularly not pay the customer who was black with change. He would pay him with bubblegum. And the guy, somehow, he couldn't argue. It was just like the same. If you're a black guy, you got your change in bubblegum. And you'd be standing there 8 years old and feeling like, oh my God, it was so terrible, but you couldn't say anything because that would have been worse. It was just like this weird thing of sweeties. It was so uninnocent and represented such badness. It just seems mad.
This is an eland, the largest antelope in the world. It is also, and luckily for him, delicious.
There's it.
Got it.
I think that was very good. No?
That's a little sad. You know?
It is sad, it is sad. But you know what? That is such good meat, and that's really what we do.
Though this one weighs in around a ton, rest assured, every bite, every scrap will be eaten. Some of that tonight at dinner. Chef Andrea Bergner, Dion, a local hunting expert, and myself joined Prospero Bailey on his game farm. Prospero's dad, Jim Bailey, was the legendary publisher of the slyly subversive Drum magazine, the first of its kind during apartheid, a black-oriented investigative magazine slickly disguised as glossy pop culture. Prospero's farm is a mere 20 miles from Johannesburg.
Did you see the city there?
Yeah. Wild, all this within sight of the city.
Near Prospero's farm and hidden within the city's shadow is what's known as the Cradle of Humankind, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, an incredible look back at where we, the human animal, came from.
So now here's this is a classic little sinkhole. There's loads of these. This is what this area is. I mean, the Cradle, this is called the Cradle, it's now a World Heritage Site because 60% of all the evidence for human evolution comes out of this valley. It's from caves like this that keep the record. The geology just conspires to preserve fossils. They're very, very rare things, hominid fossils, but they've found more here in the last 10 years than they've sort of found anywhere. So you're home. This is where you start.
This is my ancestral homeland?
This is your ancestral homeland.
Oh, that sound makes me happy. What does that sound remind you of, guys? What does that evoke for you, that sound? Primeval, you know, happy childhoods at the beach, meat sizzling over the fire, you know, parental love, your enemy's genitals frying in hot oil. Nothing? No?
Downright Precambrian, fire and fresh-killed eland. I get to work on the heart, something I strongly suspect will be delicious, and I'm right. Andrea works some magic on the liver, dredged in flour and sautéed. There's some eland loin, seared and glazed with booze. And there's eland paprikash, a riff on the Hungarian stew with paprika, peppers, onions, tomatoes, and cream. As the sun sets over the veldt, Johannesburg's lights winking in the distance, a feast.
Meat on the plate, blood on my pants, life is good. I've been very, 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 very confused by my visit here. I mean, you've got basically a goulash here, Italian-inflected liver thing going on here. The bread, someone referred to as Portuguese?
Yeah, Portuguese, but it's from Madeira, that bread, that flat bread.
South Africa, depending on who I talk to, it's a completely different construct. To some people, it's whoever comes to South Africa from anywhere else in Africa and brings good along with them. But other people, it's all the good stuff from Malaysia, East Indies. There's the Dutch, there's the English influence.
Well, there were so many different colonialists.
Exactly.
It is a mishmash.
What at this table is originally African, and does that even have any meaning?
This wood is pine.
Okay.
It's grass. And we are African.
Sitting around.
I arrived in this country spectacularly ignorant. I will leave spectacularly ignorant. Okay?
Ramadan. At this hour, all over Johannesburg, members of South Africa's sizable Muslim community observe. The religion of Islam, as well as many of South Africa's most beloved and most delicious dishes and ingredients, like sambal, chutney, and bunny chow, come from Malaysia, Indonesia, India. During apartheid, many South Africans would have been referred to as colored. Colored didn't mean black, it meant everybody else who wasn't exactly white, Asians and mixed race.
It's garlic, ginger, and chili.
In the observatory neighborhood of Johannesburg, the Razdian family prepares for iftar, the meal at sundown when fasting for Ramadan is broken.
Some curry powder.
Joey Razdian is a stand-up comedian and actor of Cape Malay background.
The beef is in.
This dish, Penang curry with beef and eggs. Joey's wife Cindy prepares a chicken pie. Son Hakim makes the traditional Ramadan shake. Daughter Leia.
Everything smells terrific.
That's barley soup.
Nice.
It's nicer to have soup after you've not eaten the whole day. It's like, it's light and nourishing and filling and all of those good things.
There's also cheese and beef samosas.
These are delicious. You were born here, born in Johannesburg?
Yes, I was, yeah. I'm a Johannesburg guy.
So how are things?
It depends what type of things you're speaking about.
Basically, things work. Society operates the way society should. But on the other hand, anyways, this is a new country.
It is. We're 19 years old.
Everybody's from someplace else.
Yeah. I think the Africans from the other countries see South Africa as a place of hope because there's a lot bustling here. There are a lot of opportunities. Lots of people make it from here. You don't find 3 million Germans coming here or 3 million French people coming here. It's Africans who come from far less to come and find a little bit of something here.
So how do you find South Africa so far?
Yeah.
I like it. I'm very comfortable here. I like a country where people have a sense of humor and there's a lot of ball busting going on in this country.
All the time. From the top to the bottom.
20 years from now, what's South Africa going to be like?
Their generation. The born frees now is the ones that's giving our current president lots of yell. The born frees is the ones that was born in the new democracy.
Right.
Or just before the first election, you know?
Right.
The born frees now, they like, look here, we went to school, this is right and this is wrong. What you're doing is wrong. But we had a struggle.
Yeah.
Yeah, we weren't part of a struggle. I don't care. Thank you for the struggle. I got Twitter now.
Now I want 5 bars on my 3G. I want Wi-Fi.
Absolutely.
And it better be high speed.
Absolutely.
And why can't I have it?
Why can't I have it?
I don't think the current politicians foresaw that.
Yeah.
Foresaw the born
free is going.
Not supporting them.
There's a critical mass of young people that wants to change South Africa in a positive way. How they do it or how they go about it, I don't know the answer to that. Neither do they know the answer to that, but the intentions is clear.
No more hipster jokes. It's low-hanging fruit. And one can no longer argue against the steady creep of their foodie sensibilities. Artisanal cheeses? Yes, right over there. Handmade charcuterie? Yes, there. Thin crust pizza? A very respectable paella? Yes, yes, and yes. It's official. They're here, and they aren't going anywhere.
I like the idea of a burger for breakfast. There's something a little perverse about that.
Throw in a crowd of much more racially diverse, hungry people, and you might think you're in Brooklyn. Surely, this is not a bad thing. This is Neighbor Goods Market in the Braamfontein precinct of Johannesburg. My dining companion, city press, arts, and features writer, Percy Mabandu, says we should hold out for this, the Balkan Burger.
Next! One with cheese for me.
All right, one with cheese, lots of cheese.
Hell yeah, flattened ground beef seared over flame.
Yeah, don't cook me, cook the food, right?
Add kashkaval and mozzarella cheese, fold it up, pick your condiments. You got cabbage, tomato, onion, lettuce, of course, and hot peppers. Up to the roof with a view and eat.
Ooh, spicy, good. I guess I want to talk about Nelson Mandela, because what I was not aware of at all was the degree to which he was personally responsible for really the nuts and bolts of the transition from white rule to majority rule.
All right.
Now he's very ill.
Ill, yeah.
What happens after Mandela, do you think?
We go on. I think the foundation is laid. And I think, thank God, we have him as a symbol. I think Mandela represents
our collective better intentions as a nation. The touchstone test that we used to chart the way forward.
All the things that could have gone terribly wrong. It's a remarkable thing how well it
happened.
It went.
Between 1990 and 1994, tough times. Internecine fighting, black on black violence, the fear of black on white violence. Are we going to descend into a bloodbath? But we transcended that through that message of coming together regardless of the unresolved issues.
To what extent is it really a rainbow nation? Are things getting mixed? We like to think we live in a rainbow nation, but in fact, in the States, black and white live in, to a great extent, in different neighborhoods.
Yeah.
It's only 19 years. In some ways, it looks to me, outside looking in, a little more gracefully mixed up than we've managed to pull off successfully in the States.
Here, you've got black, white, colored, all sorts of people here. But I think, in all fairness, also, one should acknowledge that the economic disparities are managing to keep us divided as well. I think what we need to do is unpack what we mean by rainbow. I think the idea of united in our diversity also means that, there'll be moments of discord.
And you think things will continue to improve?
Yeah, I think we've seen our worst. And that's not to say that we're getting it right all the time. But it's an experiment with democracies. And experiments you need to fine-tune as you go along. That's really the South African story. The dream is there, we all agree. The divisions are there, but these are not bigger than our hopes.
What did I know about South Africa before I came here? Exactly nothing, as it turns out. But I think based on what I've seen, that if the world can get it right here, a country with a past like South Africa's, if they can figure out how to make it work here for everybody, absorb all the people flooding in from all over Africa, continue to make Mandela's dream a reality, maybe there's hope for the rest of us.